Millions of years ago, the African forests were packed with animals biologically engineered for combat. If you were a primate navigating this landscape, you had absolutely zero natural weapons. No claws, no venom, no armored shells. Early humans were entirely outmatched. In a physical contest with a saber-toothed cat or giant bear, hominids were slow, soft, and highly susceptible to being hunted. To see the starting point of our lineage, we have to look at the Ethiopian desert. In 1974, archaeologists unearthed the skeleton of a young woman who died 3.2 million years ago. Her skeleton is classified as AL2881, but you probably know her as Lucy. Lucy was a remarkably small ancestor. She stood just over 3.5 feet tall, weighed about 55 pounds, and had a skull roughly the size of a small grapefruit. But her species, Australopithecus, possessed a structural trait that compensated for those physical weaknesses. They walked upright on 2 feet.
Walking on 2 legs mechanically uncoupled the upper body from the task of locomotion, clearing the architectural path for an entirely new survival strategy. Once the arms were free, early humans could take full advantage of their opposable thumbs. They could firmly grasp objects, allowing them to physically execute complex instructions sent from the brain. They started manipulating their environment. Chemical evidence shows hominid groups traveled up to 9 miles simply to find specific stones, bringing them back to camp to meticulously fashion into scrapers and food choppers. By about 2 million years ago, a new species emerged with a brain capacity nearly double the size of Lucy's. This was Homo erectus, the upright walking human. That increased intelligence allowed them to upgrade their primitive choppers into lethal hardware. They produced cleavers and hand axes with sharp, deliberate edges, giving them serious offensive capabilities for the first time. Then, early humans figured out how to extract energy directly from their surroundings. They started and tended fires. Fire provided 3 immense benefits at once. It let them cook raw meat to extract more calories, it generated artificial heat during ice ages, and it provided a physical barrier against nocturnal predators. A hominid with a hand axe and a burning branch possessed a decisive edge over their surroundings. Armed with physical tools and thermal energy, they broke out of the tropical zones and began migrating across the Eurasian landmass. Around 200,000 years ago, Homo sapiens arrived. They possessed a modern brain structure, heavily developed in the frontal lobe, the specific biological real estate required for conscious, reflective thought. That neural architecture allowed them to assign specific vocal sounds to abstract ideas. They developed complex spoken languages with massive vocabularies. Instead of just warning each other with simple alarm calls, they could transmit detailed information. They could discuss events that hadn't happened yet, assign specific roles, and choreograph complex group movements. This level of communication turned relatively small mammals into an apex predator. Upon a verbal signal, they would surge forward, stampeding heavy beasts into traps. Language acted as a technological network. It linked physically weak individuals into a highly lethal, perfectly coordinated system that no single animal could defend against. With language, tools, and fire working in tandem, the human footprint exploded outward. Between 60,000 and 15,000 years ago, global temperatures dropped significantly. Ice ages locked the Earth's water into glaciers, causing sea levels to plummet and exposing vast bridges of dry land between continents. Early humans walked across these land bridges. They expanded into Indonesia, crossed to Australia, and swept into the Americas. By 15,000 years ago, humans occupied almost every habitable region on the planet. They accomplished this while remaining, biologically, the exact same soft, unarmored primate they were in the African forests. Underneath their crafted winter coats, they were completely vulnerable to the freezing temperatures. When the climate shifts, other animal species rely on random genetic mutations, waiting thousands of generations to grow thicker fur or heavier fat reserves. Humans bypass that process. Our dominance is rooted in our capacity to choose. We do not wait for evolution to adapt our bodies to the environment. We engineer tools to force the environment to adapt to us.